Hello, Mr. Jörg. So I'm going to quickly present myself. I am Khalil. I am part of the team here in AMLD Africa. I'm a student in Lausanne, and I'm actually doing my exchange program in Hong Kong. So I study business. So maybe my questions are not going to be a lot technical. So maybe you can answer it from a different point of view this time. That may be also nice for you.
I feel connecting those both perspectives is quite important.
Exactly.
So I think it's actually a good point. You're not as...
Exactly. And it's all about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can tell us quickly also about yourself.
Sure. I'm Jörg, CTO currently at ArangoDB, an open source graph database. And so I actually get to deal with different topics on a daily basis. And this is what gets me pretty excited about my current role, because my background is mostly database systems. So a long time ago, my hair always makes me look much younger than I actually am. Did my Ph.D. on distributed database systems or distributed data analysis. Then I developed database systems. Got to move over to Silicon Valley and work with like big companies there, Uber, Netflix, etc., to kind of like build their data and machine learning infrastructure. And so that's kind of like the second big passion is like machine learning at scale, distributed systems at scale. And right now I actually get to combine that together with the database world. And that's a pretty exciting intersection.
That's cool. That's really nice. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to start with a very, very basic one. And actually, it's one question that some friends asked me about, and it's one question that I could ask you as a non-data scientist. What would you say is the easiest way to go into AI? If, let's say, I'm not an AI enthusiast. Well, I am an enthusiast, but I'm not an expert, and I don't know nothing about it. What would be the easiest way to get into it?
Yeah, that was actually the last part of my talk. What I'm currently really excited about is this democratization of access to information, and especially data science. So, I mean, there are really good courses online, but I think that's kind of like part one. Just get like the theoretical basics down. It unfortunately moves some mathematics, but if you actually understand how it can be applied, this always makes it for me so much easier. I think then the second part is really just to get started with data. Because whatever, especially the data sets being used in those like teaching projects, they are like clean, they are upfront. And that was also the talk up front just before mine, which was about like data quality, data preparation. This is just where I see like a lot of time being happened. So I think that just the recipe would be get some data down. Usually there's like some projects associated with that, and then pick your own data set or pick a data set from Kaggle and actually just start playing with, try to understand it, and then try to apply some of those methods you've learned to real like not pre-cleaned, not prepared data sets. Get your hands dirty.
Exactly. That's what everyone should do. All right. On our way here, we talked about this collaboration between every kind of expert, and between also now when I told you I'm not an AI expert, and you told me that's what it's all about. That's what this conference is about, and that's what all these smart people in that room. If we gather them more often and create collaborations, that would be very optimal. That would be good.
I feel for me this conference, this is why I was super excited to be here, is actually for exactly this networking on multiple dimensions. First of all, I mean, there's the obvious one, right? Me, like half living in Silicon Valley, half in Europe, just connecting with the huge potential of like talent which is here. So just talking to like so many smart people all day long was super, super exciting. And I think this is something a lot of people are not aware about. Like, I feel like being either in Berlin or even like Silicon Valley Bay Area, a lot of people would be very excited just having this network connection. So that would be kind of like the kind of like global geographic network aspect. Second part, I think, is then exactly like between different disciplines, right? To create value, and I think this is something I've seen also like most machine learning projects fail, was to create business value out of it. So for that, I, as a data scientist, I would need to understand, like, hey, what is actually the business problem you need to solve?
Would you say it's not enough entrepreneurship or not enough? What would you say is the cause for that?
I think the cause is that we especially big companies, were trying to build silos.
Yeah.
And that silo, so in Silicon Valley, or maybe one step back, like especially with a hype, there's always coming this, oh, we have to apply that without actually scoping out a project. So I saw that when kind of like this deep learning hype started, when was that, like 7 years ago or so? Anyone wanted to do just machine learning, deep learning, because someone read about it. Yeah. And there I feel it was really applied to a lot of problems where they don't make sense. And from the data scientist side, they applied it to problems they didn't understand. Because each, like, the data scientists were treated as a silo, the business people were treated as a silo, and only like very basic information was exchanged. So I really believe in this kind of like very close collaborations where people talk about like, hey, what is the problem they actually want to solve? And then also just have like feedback loops. Because typically in data science, it's not like you deliver like an end solution in the end, but first of all, it's going to take multiple iterations to solve something. Yeah. And secondly, probably even more important, it needs to be embedded in the business context. Like a perfectly trained machine learning model by itself is like of no value if I don't have it embedded in like my machine learning pipeline. If I can't retrain it, if I can't apply it to like the problems you're actually trying to solve. And so I think this is why it's so important to break down those silos in between our disciplines there.
Yeah, a mosaic, basically, a puzzle. Yeah, what you're saying, I completely agree with you. I think the market is changing. The market needs and what people need and the challenges that are being born every day, they make us, we should collaborate between all of the fields that you talked about. And actually that makes me think about something. Before this conference, I had absolutely no relation to. I had some coding classes, but I was never this guy that would be an engineer, you know, especially an IT engineer. And there's my brother. My brother studies computer science, and he would be with his computer coding stuff, and I would be looking at him and what are you doing, man? And then now, when I got into AMLD to organize this, I was also part of I had the Twitter account, so I had to do some researches and talk about the machine learning applications. And I realized that really machine learning and artificial intelligence and using data is getting more and more and more in our society. If I watch a tennis match, for example, they would use the data from one player and another in order to compare and try and guess what will happen in the future. Also, if I watch Formula One or anything, sports, financial markets, it's related to everything, right? So where would you see? What would you say is the future of AI and data collection?
I wouldn't just say like it's not necessarily only AI or machine learning. It's actually like being more data driven. Yeah. And I think this is going to be an aspect which is going to be all around us, whether it's just good or bad. I mean, this morning there was this talk about like biases, and I feel this is something we should take away from that. Is machine learning is just going to take biases which might be there already, like hiring from certain regions, hiring, gender, to take like something very easy, and it's just going to amplify it because like we're going to look for patterns in data, and I think this is where our society will head, and this is why we need to work together. I believe it's really good that we are not all like core data scientists. Yeah. Our society wouldn't be that great.
Yeah, definitely.
This is why we need people with different backgrounds and different viewpoints, and then we need to collaborate to actually make it, to get meaning and progress out of data. And I think that's going to be the future, like collaborating. Everyone has like a I think there's like some base level of understanding, like similar in school, like everyone takes like some math courses, so it's like some basic understanding of math, and I think this is where we'll get to in the future, that we'll all have like that basic understanding, and then there will be some experts which actually study it at university.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You remind me of one teacher I had. He was my first teacher in university, actually. And he did his Ph.D. something data-driven about biases and how you should doubt everything, and all data is wrong.
Yeah.
And he often posts on LinkedIn, and he always tackles this how to trust which data and how to know at how many % to trust this data.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the importance of accuracy and biases, and how does it change the final? Because, okay, suppose we have a data set now, and we have one tiny little bias here that will create a huge bias at the end, the last result.
Yeah.
So what would you say, how much is it important? If I have a problem set and I have some biases, what would be the importance of that?
Yeah. So first of all, for me, those biases are actually like I wouldn't say it's the data or the machine learning, it's like in our society, right?
Yeah.
And they just get amplified by that. So the amplification can be quite strong because, I mean, what is machine learning doing? They're trying to look for like patterns in the data which are not random. And if that is like only a small thing, obviously it will get amplified by that algorithm. Luckily, there are techniques to detect and then also counter that. And I think the most important thing is that we are, first of all, aware of that. Yeah. I feel actually like pointing out those things that can make us aware about a lot of behavior we might have, a lot of biases we might have had before. Yeah. But because, as you said, they're smaller, we never recognized them before. And now as they get amplified, they actually become pretty obvious. So I think it can actually help us to reflect about ourselves. But yeah, the amplification can be quite strong. And I feel that this needs to be part of that data education, right? I mean, similar as back in the days, it just started for me that we were taught like how to do like research information, like which sources to trust. Don't blindly copy from any data source, right? Yeah.
That's created much turmoil on Twitter, especially.
Yeah, exactly. And not everything can be like distilled into 80 characters, but different story. But yeah, so I think exactly this kind of like questioning, like, hey, where is data coming from? Not just believing like this headline, but actually going deeper and see it in the context. This is something which we hopefully will get to educating people about.
Okay, that's nice. Would you say it would be a secret weapon, kind of? I don't want to use weapon because it's kind of a bad word. Yeah. But would you say it's a secret remedy? For example, now if I look, so I'm from Tunisia, and for example, if I look at Tunisair, which is the aviation company of Tunisia, it has so much stuff to improve, and I look at lots of companies, and they have so much stuff to improve. Would you say that if they used more data from the past and learning from our mistakes, basically taking into consideration how the market evolves, and that's what AI.
So multiple aspects. First of all, like you will always encounter like new things you haven't seen before, like COVID-19, right?
Exactly.
Relying on past data won't help you. So you still need people who can actually react to something which hasn't been seen before. And this is where our current AI models will not help that much. I think in the future we can have a more generic artificial intelligence which might help there, but like right now, we're basically trying to learn, as you said, from past data, which won't be applicable in all scenarios. You said a second interesting aspect, which is right now I already deleted I might come back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Do your thing. Okay, I can move to another question that is not very related to this, but it's AI related. I never asked an expert about this, but I always see videos on social media about AI predicting the future of mankind. As in, so 2 weeks ago I saw a video, and it was a robot or a software that, so at first it was humans before, thousands of years ago we were chimpanzees, monkeys, and then we evolved into this Homo sapiens, and then this AI software made us, throughout time, in 1,000 or 2,000 years, we're going to be bigger, and then we're going to become like robots, and then Would you say this is accurate?
Nah, I mean, as said, like predicting the future is hard of past data, but like the current state of artificial intelligence is very task-specific problems. So it's not that generic, and it depends on like stuff we've seen in the past. So by itself, that would make it very hard to predict the future because there will always be like new influences, unless it's like obviously we can identify some patterns and then basically predict those patterns, but I wouldn't really call that predicting the future.
Okay.
And yeah, obviously AI is going to change the way what we have to learn and deal with. And I mean, we don't even have to go to AI for that, right? If I look around people walking through a city, they always have their smartphone in their hand with like Google, Apple Maps, whatever open. And I really feel like even within like between my generation and like the generation now, the ability to read a map or to orient, to remember like, hey, how do I actually walk back, has decreased massively, quite drastically.
Yeah.
And
not only the ability to locate. Trust me, other abilities also decrease.
And I think this is what AI will enable us to like phase out not that interesting tasks, like locating or just computing like certain things. Like this can even be like the calculator, right?
Yeah.
Previously, to calculate, you needed to figure out like how do I do long division.
Yeah.
Nowadays, did you ever do long divisions in your business life?
Never.
No.
Never.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think this is where technology in general, not just AI, can help us to outsource those tasks.
Adapt to the challenges.
Then we can still focus on other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it's cool. I feel like you explained as if I was a baby and you were explaining me from scratch, you know, knowing nothing about artificial intelligence. I think this podcast / interview, if one day a toddler asks me what is AI, I'm gonna show him this interview.
It wasn't meant as an insult to you.
Yeah,
to
of course.
Your intelligence.
Of course. No. I completely agree that I don't have any expertise on this, but I try to learn my best, because I really know that everywhere, really in everything I do in my daily routine, there is artificial intelligence, and even if there isn't, there would be a way through artificial intelligence to make it to improve what I just saw. And literally it's in everything, and it could improve all of what we do. So I think it's a very important thing that people like me, AI toddlers, AI babies, that try and get to know a minimum, you know, of this, because even in future careers, it's going to be like I think it's going to be kind of a soft skill to at least understand how it works.
I would call it like you have to be able to speak like a common language, and that just comes from both sides, right? If you're saying that, or you describe yourself as an AI toddler, which I wouldn't use, I think you already know quite a bit. But on the other hand, there are other people who are toddlers about the business problems, and I think both sides need to communicate with each other and collaborate to actually get outcomes. And this is coming back to our silo discussion, like each silo by itself is pretty meaningless in the end. I can build super cool machine learning models, but if I don't solve like an actual problem, it doesn't help me in the end. So I think this is where the education is about like learning a common vocabulary, but it also means for kind of the data scientists to also learn about applications, have like some understanding for the other side, what's actually happening there. Of course, I think then we can create value. Yeah.
Well, now I can say that I know more about machine learning and AI, right? Maybe we can finish this by asking you one final question. How did you like it? How did you like the conference? We talked about it a little bit. Maybe you can tell us.
As said, I really like those different networking aspects, and I already have like I already have like so many ideas what we can do for the third iteration, just in terms of like networking, connecting. Really impressed about like all the smart people and talents, like all the discussions also around the talks. super exciting, and really big shout out to the entire organization team.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank you
really
so
well
much.
done, and
Thanks.
really attracted like an impressive
Thank you. Appreciate
lineup
it.
conference.
Thank you very much. Well, we hope to see you again in the next organization,
Yeah.
the next event.
Happy to also like in
Happy to.
forefront. Happy to collaborate there.
Nice. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for the interview, and I hope I'm gonna hear a little more about ArangoDB. That's right.
Yeah, ArangoDB and
ArangoDB
GraphML.
and
yeah.
GraphML, and you, Mr. Jörg Schad. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Khalil, and it's very
Thanks
nice
a
to
lot.
meet you.
Yeah.
Very nice
and
to meet you.
See you latest next year.
I hope so. I hope so. Thank you very much.